Montana's only statewide sports talk show. Broadcast on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Western Montana and across the state on SWX Television.
I like football!
Now, the 2017 Radio Sports Broadcaster of the Year on the show with back-to-back Montana Broadcaster Association awards for sports coverage and award-winning sports journalism. Here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
Hello, Montana. Not much going on in the sports world today. I don't even know why we have a show. Just Toronto's first ever championship. Backing up St. Louis's first ever championship. Phil Mickelson looking for his first ever U.S. Open championship. It is Tutel Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio and across the state on SWX Montana Television. Outstanding to be with you. Thanks for spending some time with us on your radios, on your televisions, or around on the internet, on the stream, on YouTube. Tutel Nuanez channel on YouTube. Check us out there. Appreciate that. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Online at KurtzPolaris.com. You can find us on the World Wide Web, 1029ESPN.com. There you can listen to the stream. The stream brought to us by Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. If you would like to pick up your phone and call, well, we encourage that too. 329-1899, 329-1899, the phone number. All guests join us via the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. And if you are a sports fan, today is a pretty outstanding day. I mean, how much is going on? First of all, of course, the Toronto Raptors, an epic 6-game win in the NBA Finals, winning all 3 games in Oracle to close out. Who could have imagined that the last 3 games of this Golden State team in their arena were going to be losses? Just unbelievable. 114-110. And an absolutely epic performance by the Toronto Raptors, beset by injury, obviously, to huge key players. Were the Golden State Warriors. We'll get into all of that. We also going to talk maybe a little bit of free agency and what is the landscape of free agency now with the injuries that have come up and Toronto winning the NBA Finals, the championship. That I don't know if everybody thought that would happen. Does that change things for Kawhi Leonard? We can get into that stuff. It's a Friday. We like to talk to our friends around here, whether you know sports or not. We got our chick who doesn't know about sports going to talk to us today about a couple of things. Have fun doing that on a Friday. Also, next hour, U.S. Open in full swing. Lefty on the course. Rory on the course. 70 today for Justin Rose to back up, a 65, I think, that he shot yesterday, or 66. He is 7 under. He is still in the lead as of right now, so we will get into some of that stuff. And also, opening day for the Missoula Osprey. They are on the road over there in Great Falls, so we will get to that. Your home for the Missoula Osprey right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio all season long. The Pioneer League off and running. Billings, the Mustangs over there, and then the Great Falls Voyagers, they get to host the home opener this week. So very, very cool. Happy to have baseball in the state of Montana at the Pioneer League level up and running. As we do all the time, right about now on a Friday, for crying out loud, it's a beautiful day out there across the state. It's time for a little Joseph. Something, a little pick-me-up, little something to get you into your weekend. It's our Florence Coffee Company coffee break. I got myself an iced vanilla latte. Colter, what are you working on there?
Yo, iced Americano. I never seen this. They gave me the sticker cup instead of the logo cup. That's pretty interesting. Cool. Good branding.
Yeah, get the sticker on there. I got the logo on here. This thing, oh, man, it tastes so good. It's perfect. It's exactly what you need. You're close to a Florence Coffee Company kiosk right now. Go there. Get something iced. Hey, I don't know, get something hot. Maybe it feels cooler after you drink it, that kind of thing. I don't know, some of the reverse psychology. Whatever it is, it's a fine afternoon. You can stay up late. You can sleep in. Get a Florence Coffee Company coffee for a Friday afternoon. Yes, thank you very much. Colter, I'm not even going to sit here and small talk with you.
Let's go.
The Toronto Raptors are NBA champions, 114-110 last night. An epic and collective win in this 6th and final game for the Raptors. Pascal Siakam, outstanding last night. 26 points, 10 of 17 shooting. He has been inconsistent at times in these finals, but when he has been good, he has been great.
And it's been when they needed him the most.
When they had to have him.
Him being bad has only happened in inconsequential times. He's been at his best when they need him the most, which is impressive for a young player.
Very impressive. And you got to be thrilled if you're Toronto. I mean, you talk about the future of Toronto and, all the things that you maybe don't know about it. Well, you feel like you do know about Pascal Siakam and the major role player that he is, and you would think developing into a cornerstone of the franchise. He was great. Kyle Lowry last night, 9 of 16, 4 of 7 from deep, 26 points, scored the first 11 points of an absolutely torrid opening to this game last night. Went 4 of 4 right out the gate, including 3 of 3 from deep. And it was like 11-2 before they'd even turned the lights on at Oracle Arena in this basketball game. And Toronto was off and running and created a double-digit lead very early in that game. But ultimately, this game was nip and tuck all the way down the stretch. But Kyle Lowry doing it. And then, of course, Kawhi Leonard, who is the tournament MVP, only 1 of 5 from beyond the arc last night, still had 22 points and 6 rebounds. But you can't even begin to assess both the defense and when you have a superstar like that on your team, the quote-unquote calming effect that has, the confidence factor that brings to your team in moments like these just can't be overstated. I know you got a lot to say about Kawhi Leonard, but this is an epic win where he was the guy. Now, he was the best player probably on the San Antonio team when they won it. But he's still there with Hall of Famers playing with him, notably Tim Duncan, but also, Manu and Tony Parker and so forth and so on. So even though he maybe was the man in that series, he was certainly with major helpers. In this, there is no question. It is Kawhi Leonard and everybody else. Good as Kyle Lowry was, great as Pascal Siakam was, huge as Marc Gasol was defensively, and all that Fred VanVleet. I mean, who's got onions bigger than Fred VanVleet? Nobody. But it is Kawhi Leonard's show, and he did this. And it was an absolutely epic performance. And I'll talk about a 1-year walk-off if that's what happens. Can't be better than that than Kawhi Leonard up there in Toronto. Should I say down there in Toronto from here? Okay.
I think we got to do this in a sort of chronological order because I do have so much to say about so many different things. I do think that, first of all, Kawhi Leonard solidified himself as an all-time great Hall of Fame player. I think that we knew he was trending towards that, but I mean, Kawhi Leonard halted 2 different three-peats. That's amazing. Kawhi Leonard was the Finals MVP to end the Heat's bid at a three-peat, and he was the Finals MVP to end the reign of the Golden State Warriors, or at least as we know it. I think that we can both agree that regardless of what happens with the Warriors, I think Jeff Van Gundy's comment last night when Draymond Green and Steph Curry and then the smattering of role players were on the floor, when Van Gundy said this team would not make the Western Conference playoffs, that's incorrect. That's incorrect. Steph Curry and Draymond Green could at least get them to like the 5 or 6 seed. They're going to win 45, 50 games. They're just not going to win 60 games.
Agreed.
I mean, they have 2 of the 15 best players in the league still, regardless if those guys are out. We'll get into all that, though. But what I want to talk about first and foremost is that you can always say, well, what if this, what if that? You can always dice apart an argument based on the specifics of the situation. And all I've heard on talk radio today is, well, this one comes with an asterisk for the Raptors because Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson were both out. And I just don't agree with that because I really think if you were to do a deep dive into every single NBA Finals, you would find that half of them, if you did the deep dive into every single round of the playoffs and everything that leads up to it, I mean, you could splice it all. I always reference the fight in the Phoenix Suns Los Angeles Lakers series in 2007 when Steve Nash was at the height of his powers. Mike D'Antoni's got the Suns rolling. They're changing the face of the NBA. And then there's the bench clearing brawl, and all the guys on the Suns get suspended, and the Lakers win that series. I mean, that was in not even the conference finals, but what would have happened with the dominoes? Who knows?
And how about this very Golden State team in their first one where Zaza Pachulia gets underneath this Kawhi Leonard?
Exactly.
And they're up 20 at that moment, all of a sudden it goes the other way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows if this Golden State Warriors team even makes to the finals if Kawhi is healthy in that. I mean, the changing of the guard was actually the Warriors beating the defending champion San Antonio Spurs, partly because Kawhi Leonard was hurt. I mean, Hakeem Olajuwon is inarguably one of the 20 greatest players of all time. Hakeem Olajuwon has no rings if Michael Jordan doesn't retire. I mean, there's so many different factors that, you know, Tim Duncan's got 5 rings, which puts him in rare air. But Tim Duncan maybe only has 4 rings because he doesn't get one when he's a rookie if it wasn't a lockout shortened season. Who knows? Right. Does a rookie lead a team to a championship when you play 82 full games? I don't know. And that's what I think that, you know, sure, missing 2 All-NBA players in Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson have a huge impact. But that is the NBA. Rajon Rondo getting hurt against the Heat a couple years back derailed the Celtics. I mean, there's so many examples just off the top of your head, let alone if you were to do a deep dive. So what I want to talk about for a moment is how incredible the Toronto Raptors have played in the last 2 series. Toronto was going toe-to-toe with one of the most polarizing and inconsistent teams in the league, all the way down to 1, 2, 3, 4 bounces on the rim before the ball goes through the hoop in Game 7 to get them into the Eastern Conference Finals. After that Kawhi Leonard buzzer beater dropped, Toronto has straight up physically dominated both the Milwaukee Bucks and the Golden State Warriors. To take any credit away from Toronto because of injuries, I think is unfair to the Raptors, because there is a factor where Klay Thompson and Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant, lift the Warriors over the top. Of course there is. But that doesn't take away from the fact that the Raptors answered the bell more than any team I can remember in the history of the NBA playoffs. Truly, in the last 20 years, my clear memories of this, when a juggernaut is going on a run, one of the hardest things to do is halt that run, is not get absorbed by the momentum, to step up and make a big shot. We expect Kawhi Leonard to do that at this point. But to have a guy like Pascal Siakam, who truly, even me, the biggest NBA guy you know, I didn't know who Pascal Siakam was until 55 or 60 games into this year.
Yeah.
No one knew who this kid was. For him to step up and make these shots, I mean, I thought one of the coolest, and for Fred VanVleet, like you said, I mean, after the game was over, I was like, okay, I get you got to give Kawhi Leonard the MVP because of his body of work in this playoffs, as well as how well he played in the first 4 games of this series. But I seriously said, the other guy that would get an MVP vote for me in this is Fred VanVleet. I mean, he hit more big shots than anybody in the series.
Yes. Yeah, he did.
And then to see the veteran guys step up too, I thought it was a cool moment to watch Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol celebrate this.
Definitely.
It was very cool. And so, I mean, what are your thoughts? Because I know that it's impossible to ignore. I mean, and that Klay Thompson injury made me sick.
Yeah.
I mean, you just texted me, bro. That's it. I was just like, dude, he blew it. I don't care if he gets up and walks. I mean, the way that thing ratcheted, it was horrific. Way worse than Kevin Durant's, in my opinion, because he knew it was blown right away. Regardless, I think you got to give all the credit to the Raptors. We're going to get into what this means for the league. We're going to get into if this is a one and done for the Raptors. But none of that matters. The newest franchise in the NBA, led by a player who's gone through as much scrutiny as any guy in the league over the last 2 years, are champions of the world, and that's pretty crazy to say.
Tucson Nuanez, 129 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana. You basically framed what is going to be the heart of my perspective on this, and it might sound dichotomous because I think there's people who think that it can't be both. I think it can be both. Not having Kevin Durant is, it can't really be overstated, okay? Then losing when they're ahead, Klay Thompson in that way and in that moment was hugely impactful to the way these games went. To not acknowledge that is just, I mean, it's just dumb. I mean, you can't not acknowledge that. And also, there is no caveat whatsoever to this championship by the Toronto Raptors at all. They were not handed anything. They went out and took everything that they got. They won, 3 out of 3 in Oracle to close the building down. Okay? So I don't care about any of it. Guess who was still there? Steph Curry the whole way through. Guess who was still there? Draymond Green the whole way through. Guess who was there? Boogie Cousins.
And I get the Kevin Durant was only in this game for he was only available even for 14 minutes of the series. He got hurt 2 minutes in the second quarter of the game. Klay Thompson's injury, no doubt, rattled the Warriors, both physically and emotionally. Him not being, he was the most locked in of the Warriors last night.
Also in game 3?
He was.
3, he was out completely.
Yes. And he was the most impactful of the Warriors last night. He was feeling it.
30 points.
But that's what I'm saying is it had an impact in last night's game, no doubt. But it's not as if you didn't have Klay. He gave you 30 points first.
Klay Thompson played. You're right. I mean, that's a very good point. It's like, okay, well, he wasn't there in the fourth quarter, and that certainly hurts. It's not as if he wasn't a hugely impactful presence.
Likely the Raptors would have adjusted, and Klay Thompson would have scored 1 or 2 more buckets because they would have. Not having him in the game, though, is so impactful because of the way that they can space the floor. You saw the way that the Raptors guarded the Warriors in the last 8 minutes of that game. This is what I've always been saying. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green individually are all really good players. And I think Steph Curry is an absolutely a legendary player, an all-time player, one of the most skilled players ever. But they complement each other so well, and they aren't as good without each other. The knock on Steph is that he's small, right? The reason Steph Curry turned the corner from being the wilty little really skilled guy who you can just push around to the most lethal scorer in the league is because of the guy on the other side, Klay Thompson. Because of the way you can space the floor with Klay Thompson. Last night you saw what the Raptors were doing. They started trapping the ball screen, or when Steph would beat you around the corner, they'd slide another guy, and then they'd have a third guy behind him. They were essentially triple teaming him.
Here's the thing to me, and this I think this is significant because we know it matters what you do in the playoffs, and it especially matters what you do in the finals. In Game 3, with no Kevin Durant and no Klay Thompson, Steph Curry was as good as any player could be, it seems. Went for 47 points in this game. And guess what? His team lost that game. All that matters is winning. And winning the championship in this case. And while you would never, ever sit here and look at Game 3 and blame Steph Curry for the loss, I think you can say, great as you were, you couldn't lead your team to the victory. You couldn't do the thing that you needed to do in order to get the rest of your guys up and ready to go, or up enough, not ready to go, but up enough in terms of their level of play to complement your incredible performance to actually get the win. And again, a lot of credit, all the credit to Toronto for winning that game, for going in and dominating that game, which they did again with Klay Thompson back in Game 4 in Oracle as well. In this game last night, Steph Curry wasn't good. In the game that they needed him the absolute most, 3 of 11 from beyond the arc, including missing the potential game winner on the last possession of the game.
Pause right there. We got to talk about that. That was one of the great drawn-up play calls I've ever seen. They drew it up intentionally.
Throw it up over the top.
I think he threw it like probably a foot too far. Draymond wasn't supposed to be quite going out of bounds, but the intention was for Draymond to catch it on the sideline.
Yes.
And
Steph
dump it back to a trailing Steph. What a play call. And I mean, that's the thing. First of all,
and well defended. Still for the,
absolutely
for the
well
play call
defended.
that it was. I mean, it was by no means an open look. It was no gimme 3 for Steph Curry, and you can't blame him for missing that shot. But what you can say is 22 points in a closeout game when you are the best player, certainly on the floor for your team, and maybe I mean, I don't think you can say at this point Steph's better than Kawhi Leonard, but you got to be the guy, and he wasn't in this series. He just was not that guy. He couldn't do it.
When I was driving back I got so many things I want to say. When I was driving back to the studio, I listened to a bit on the Will Cain show with the guy from ESPN who specifically covers the Warriors. I can't remember his name, but he was talking about how he thought the number one impression he took, he had just left the Warriors sort of post-mortem end of season press conference. And he said the number one impression he had was these guys are just exhausted. And I got that impression from Steph Curry. The game before Klay Thompson got hurt, Steph Curry looked all out of sorts. He was not acting like himself. He seemed like he was completely drained. Then the next game, Klay Thompson misses, and Steph Curry has to go out and play 44 minutes and score 47 points. And you could tell Steph was completely rattled by the Klay Thompson injury too. I mean, he was just sitting in the corner of the court when Klay was laying on the ground, just like almost in shock. The other thing that I thought was so telling, and the scene that I'll never forget, when the ball bounced. So first of all, they got the look they wanted. And how else could you want? What else do you want besides Steph Curry coming off a screen and shooting a three?
Nothing. It's what you want.
And if he would have made it, it would have just added to the legend. But I don't think it takes anything away from the legend.
That miss does not.
Right.
I thought the game
but the memory I will never forget was when that shot careened off the rim, and then Draymond Green dives on the ball and he calls the timeout that the Warriors don't have, and then he stands up, and Steve Kerr and Steph Curry and Draymond Green stand at center court, and all three of them just kind of had a, man, what else could happen to me today? Chuckle, smile on their face, just kind of like, this can't be possible, that this is how it's going to end, but it is. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I've been saying all along. I can't take any vindication. I told you, we have a bet that I thought that you said Warriors of the field. I got the Warriors. I said I take the field. And this is certainly, I am no Nostradamus. I did not predict how this was going to play out whatsoever. And there is a ton of stuff to talk about when you're breaking down this series. But this is what I'm always saying, is that you never know how, but all good things do come to an end. And to me, that moment, I don't know if this is the end for the Warriors in totality, but it's definitely the end of these Warriors, no doubt. And I thought that moment was poignant. It was sad. It was a lot of different things. It was ripe with emotion, no doubt. But that is a testament right there to how great the Golden State Warriors are, because it's the moment of the Warriors realizing it's over that sticks in your mind more even than Kawhi Leonard with his hands above his head.
I want to talk to you about that very thing. I don't think this is the end for these Warriors. And
I agree.
I thought that's what you just said. Well, I think that it is the end for these Warriors.
Man, it's so hard.
Let me give you my
I just mean it's the end for these Warriors because I just think that Kevin Durant is leaving. It's already being reported today that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving have talked and they're going to Brooklyn.
No, okay. I'm not doing the speculation.
Regardless, we don't have to do the speculation. No. What I'm saying is I think that this could be the rebirth of the Warriors pre-KD, because I do think that the Warriors are going to offer Klay Thompson the max, and he's going to take the max.
They're going to offer the report is that they're going to offer Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant 5-year max deals.
And I think that Klay Thompson will take it. I think Kevin Durant won't.
And maybe he won't, and that's fine.
He might take it eventually, but he's not going to take it right away. I think Klay will just sign it.
Here's what I have been looking at, though, and this is what I think is remarkable. If you go back the history of the NBA, say to 1980,
sure,
there are a handful of teams that jumped up and won. The San Antonio Spurs are so odd because they were a super team who won every couple of years
Never won
of championship, but didn't do this 2-3 in a row, 4 to 5, whatever. They didn't do that.
And I think that's why they got to 5.
Right, because they did it over time.
Because I would say this. I would say that the second hardest thing in professional sports is winning a championship. The first hardest thing is winning another one.
Yes. And here's the deal. But you go back and you look at the Lakers of the 80s and Showtime. Then the Pistons of the early 90s. Then, of course, you get into Jordan's Bulls. Jordan retires. Then it's the Rockets' turn for a couple of years. Then Jordan comes back, and it's the Bulls again. Then with the Spurs
Lakers
in there, you get the Shaq Kobe Lakers run, and then you get kind of this Spurs thing going back and forth. Celtics, so
Boston smattered in there,
some once-off wins. So none of them, these super teams, were winning multiple championships consecutively. And then you get into LeBron's Miami Heat, right? Another Spurs, and now you're into the Golden State Warriors run to the present, okay? And obviously now the Golden State Warriors are 3 of 5, but they have been the team that has been on this run. Here's what I find remarkable. Every single time a team that won at least 2 in a row, no matter how many they won in a row, whether it was 2, whether it was 3, and so on, once they didn't win, it was over for them. That was it. They had their run. They did their thing. Shaq, Kobe got the third one. Shaq leaves. That's it. Okay? LeBron James in Miami. Get the 2. That's it. He's out. Okay? When you go back to Showtime, the Showtime Lakers, they win 3 out of 4. Go, the epic games, finals against the Celtics. When they lost their last one to Detroit, the baton was passed. Now it's Detroit's. Now it's Isaiah Thomas and the Detroit Pistons and the Bad Boys. They win their couple. Now they're done. You don't come back. When these teams have won, it has been these windows of excellence over a course of time. And then when you lose it, that's it. And this is what I think the Golden State Warriors have a chance to be very unique in the history of the NBA in this respect. To lose, maybe even to have a guy, Kevin Durant, gone off the team and still be the team to beat and still come back and win another or maybe multiple championships. What's Steph Curry, 30? Is he 30?
30.
Klay Thompson? Draymond Green, these guys.
Actually, Steph just turned 31 last month.
Okay. But, you're talking about, now there's plenty of up-and-comers. The field is much closer to the Golden State Warriors than they have been in the past.
Klay's 29.
But I think that, look, the health situation is obviously gigantic at this point. How long is Klay Thompson going to be out for? If Kevin Durant stays, how long is Kevin Durant going to be out for? Long extended periods of time, well into next season, if not all of next season. So that is that makes this all very, very unknowable. But the fact is that this is a team that is not going to be sold off for parts from Golden State. If a guy or two decides to leave, that's on them. But the core of this group is going to be together, and they are going to be involved in this for years to come.
Ready for my Mike Greenberg tease? Yeah. Get your break ready.
Okay.
Next, I'm going to tell you how Kawhi Leonard changed the face of the NBA, specifically the Golden State Warriors.
I know you wanted to do a break right here, and I want to do a break. But before we do that, we got to give the people what's good. We got to give the people what's good here. Boys and girls, it's sunny outside. Now, I grill when it's rainy and snowy. I also grill when it's sunny, and we're going to hook you up with something good.
This thing is sick, too, because, it might be a little – you can take whatever you want anywhere, especially if you're going to your friends' houses, but this is handy.
It is
to
handy.
Take your 4. Like, if you're going over to a barbecue, you're bringing some steaks, you can just bring your little case,
tell
too.
Tell them what it is, Colter, because the people listening on the radio don't know.
4 big mountain flavors of Alpine Touch. Got the all-purpose, the pepper blend, hickory smoked, and great for summer, the chili sublime. This is good. Throw it in your guacamole.
There you go.
Little in your salsa, maybe. Cottage cheese, delish. Alpine Touch has these available and all sorts of other good stuff available too. You got the Grand Slam packs there going right now for $19.99. If you use the checkout code alpinetouch.com, if you use the checkout code ESPN10, get 10% off.
There you go.
And also you need to get those sunflower seeds. I know the boys back in the prod room, they make all these sweet commercials. They're mowing down on these sunflower seeds.
No.
Good stuff. And the sunflower seeds available at the Missoula Osprey, who start next week. So check those out as well. Give us a call right now, 329-1899, and we have one of these handy carrier mini Alpine Touch packs for you. We'll even throw an Alpine Touch hat. First caller, 329-1899. Give your name and address to Reese, and we'll get you all hooked up. Alpine Touch, Montana Special Spice.
Hey, Tutel Nuanez here. Can't tell you how many times we've heard the face for radio joke since we came on SWX television, but it's been a fun endeavor so far.
And now our esteemed producer Tommy is pushing the envelope even further. We got our own YouTube channel.
That's right. If you want to watch us every day from your computer, your tablet, your cell phone, you can check out Tutel Nuanez on YouTube.
Tutel Nuanez, live every weekday from 4 to 6 in the afternoons on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula, SWX Montana statewide, and now around the planet Earth on YouTube.
Right now at Carl Tyler Chevrolet, take advantage of employee pricing and up to $7,500 in rebates on all 2018 Silverados. Get the most out of your summer with a reliable truck that'll take you anywhere during Carl Tyler Chevrolet's June Silverado sell down. Save $11,719 on select 2018 Silverado 1500s. View our full inventory at gmofmontana.com or 3663 North Reserve Street. Carl Tyler Chevrolet. Find new roads.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
Treat Dad right Father's Day with the Montana Club's awesome all-you-can-eat buffet featuring all of the slow-roasted prime rib and glazed ham Dad can put away, plus bacon, sausage, eggs, sweet treats, fresh fruit, and more. Or bring them in for dear old Dad dinner specials like osso buco and steak Sinatra. We'll even treat Dad to a free brewski on Father's Day. Father's Day all-you-can-eat buffet from 8 to 2 or palate-pleasing Papa dinner specials 3 to close. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, ooh, pump it up, pump it up.
Craving some caffeine? Need a snack? Then stop by your local Town Pump now. We've got buy one, get one free on our 11-ounce high brew coffee and Doritos XXL, 2 for only $6. Stock up today. Town Pump Food Stores, proud to be part of our community.
Town Pump, right down the road, pump it up, oh yeah.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here, and I'm with Josh from the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Josh, if our listeners have been injured in an accident, how can you help?
We're here to help you after a car accident by negotiating with insurance companies, recovering lost wages if you have any, and even getting you into a rental car if you need one. Call us today for a free consultation, and we'll get started helping you right away.
If you need help, get a hold of the Advocates. Call Josh at 640-4444 or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve an advocate.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, ESPN Sports Center. For the first time in their franchise's brief history, the Toronto Raptors are the champions of the NBA. Kawhi Leonard earned Finals MVP honors for the second time in his career by denying a second three-peat as the Raptors posted a 114-110 win in the final game in Oracle Arena history Thursday night. The Game 6 victory helped the Raptors claim basketball's ultimate prize in their 25th season of existence, denying the Golden State Warriors their fourth championship in 5 years in the process.
Leonard's heroics and the depth of the Raptors was largely overshadowed by a cloud of injuries for the Warriors. In Game 5, two-time reigning Finals MVP Kevin Durant suffered a torn Achilles. In the third quarter of Game 6, Klay Thompson suffered what ended up being a torn ACL in his left knee. The injuries played huge factors in denying the Warriors from becoming the first team in nearly 50 years to win 4 championships in 5 seasons.
Billings Skyview Junior Jordan Rowe has been honored as the 2018-19 Gatorade Montana Girls Soccer Player of the Year. Rowe is the first Skyview girls soccer player to earn the honor. As a 5'4" forward, she earned Eastern AA MVP honors in the fall after leading the Falcons to a 15-0 season record, capped by a 6-0 win over Missoula Big Sky in the state AA championship game. On the year, she had 21 goals and dished out a Class AA record 20 assists.
Say congratulations. Work so hard, forgot how to vacation. They ain't never had the dedication.
Justin Rose, a 1 under 70 today, 7 under. He is alone in first place in the U.S. Open as of right now. However, Louis Oosthuizen, 1 under on the day, 6 under on the championship, and he's playing the 5th hole, so he's got a long ways to go. A lot of guys out on the course, including Rory McIlroy's 2 under today already. He's at 5 under, just 2 back. So, chase is on Friday at Pebble Beach. Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Outstanding to be with you. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Online at kurtzpolaris.com. Find us on Twitter at Gus Tutel. Me at 1029 ESPN, the station at Skyline Sports MT. Coulter and his work with the Big Sky Conference and sports in general. All right, Coulter, lay it out for us. The landscape of the NBA free agency and all that, given Kawhi Leonard. Is that what is
given
that
Kawhi Leonard, how it's going to impact the Warriors?
Okay, let's hear it.
Like I said earlier this week, there's been a variety of situations throughout the last 20 years in the NBA where teams have had maybe the inside track or the opportunity to trade for a guy that's going into a contract year, and they haven't done it because it's the perception that that guy's going to walk. So why would you give up assets to acquire a player if you're only going to have him for a year? He's just a rent-a player, and he's going to walk out the door. Well, if you can trade for a player like Kawhi Leonard and you win the championship, it doesn't matter. If Kawhi Leonard re-signs, now it's just icing on the cake, and I do think his decision is a lot tougher given the fact that he just won the Finals MVP and has the Larry O'Brien trophy. That said, if Kawhi Leonard does choose to walk away from the defending NBA champions, I think that is impactful because that will be the first time that has ever happened. But secondly, I also think that regardless of if he stays or goes, this has shown teams that if you do trade for a dude in a contract year, then it's worth the risk. I think it's worth the risk if you win the conference. I think it's worth the risk if you go to the conference finals, quite honestly, depending on where you were at as a franchise. But I think it's worth the risk if you make it to the Final Four or beyond. But if you win the championship, it's certainly worth the risk. What I'm getting at here, though, is that right now it's the Lakers, the Knicks, and the Celtics. They're in the mix for Anthony Davis. And I think that all three of those teams would have a legitimate shot at re-signing Anthony Davis, although I do think if he's not traded to L.A., they'll have the inside track at signing him a little later on. Regardless, though, what if the Golden State Warriors were the ones that wanted to make a run at Anthony Davis? And I also think that Anthony Davis is not just going to walk out on the Golden State Warriors. If he was traded there, I think he would seriously consider staying as well. But just given the situation that everybody's in, given the situation that Kevin Durant is likely going to leave the Golden State Warriors, if you're the Warriors, why not throw yourself in the mix for Anthony Davis? And how good of a fit would Anthony Davis be with Draymond Green and Steph Curry? I actually think that that trio is as good of a fit as any trio you could find, with the exception of Klay Thompson in the threesome.
People seem to think that, let's put it like this. When you look at the Knicks and the space that they have, Los Angeles, the space that they have in the city, the Clippers, obviously the city they're in, and the situation, which looks like it would be ripe for a first-team All-Pro type of player to come there and be the leader on what you got going.
Especially Kawhi Leonard. I mean, Kawhi Leonard would be a perfect fit with the Clippers.
This is where all the speculation goes. No one ever talks about Golden State because Golden State has been the best. So it's like, well, why would they be trying to get it free? But Bob Myers is calling everybody. He did everything he could do to get Kevin Durant when they'd already won a championship, and why wouldn't you?
Totally.
That's your job.
Totally.
Go ahead.
I think there's also the assumption, though. So Steph Curry's already under contract.
Yeah.
It's already been widely reported they're going to offer Klay Thompson a max contract. That's good. Those are both kind of cut and dry. They'll probably offer Kevin Durant. Who knows if he takes it or not.
Right.
But there's this assumption that Draymond Green is the one that's like the going to be there forever. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. Draymond Green will be a free agent in 2 summers. And I love Draymond Green. I think he's one of the most versatile and unique players in the history of the league. If they were to trade for Anthony Davis and then they had the decision to make to re-sign Anthony Davis or Draymond Green, because you're only going to have 3 max contracts, no team can have more than 2 super max. And in this case, they already have Steph Curry under a super max. If they wanted to keep Anthony Davis, they'd have to sign him to a super max as well. So then Klay Thompson gets that 3rd max, which is still going to be a $190 million contract. But then all of a sudden, Draymond Green is the odd man out. And wouldn't you agree, though, that if that was the choice, Anthony Davis or Draymond Green, you're signing Anthony Davis?
I would say 97% yes. I think there's a small chance. Anthony Davis as a player, it's 100% yes. As great and really great in this situation and in this system as Draymond Green is. But it's just not. I mean, Anthony Davis is a different caliber of player and younger. I mean, he's all of that stuff. The one thing I think is that for all of the, for all of the yelling and all the technical fouls and, some of the bombast that you get with Draymond Green, all of a sudden I think Anthony Davis is a bit of a question mark personality-wise.
It's interesting. That's a very good point.
I mean,
like you just said, the yelling and the bombast. When's the last time Steve Kerr got mad at Draymond Green?
Right.
Never.
No.
Let it roll.
And so now here's a guy who all of a sudden is such an unbelievably great player that taps himself out because he's upset about his thing and then wears a shirt on the last day that says, show's over, folks, or whatever it is.
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks. I mean, that's childish and immature.
Totally. And what has Anthony Davis ever won? We talked about this all the time.
Exactly.
When we both had Anthony Davis in our top 5 of the top 25 players in the NBA. But when you really break it down, Anthony Davis swept a haphazard Blazers team last year in the playoffs in the first round for the first playoff win of his career. He's never made it out of the second round, and they've only even made it to the playoffs twice.
And, I mean, it kind of takes two to tango. So whatever happened between him and now the former general manager and the former coach or whatever it is at New Orleans and all that, I don't know. And maybe there's some justification for being angry or discontent or whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is the way that he has conducted himself in this last 12 months has been childish.
Totally.
And so, hey, if everybody's winning, everything's going good, usually things go pretty well. But is that unique? Was a singular situation that came up and this is why that happened? Or is there a larger commentary about the guy Anthony Davis? That's the question that I don't know. But on the surface, yes, if it was Anthony Davis or Draymond Green, you're taking Anthony Davis, and that's not really in question. I also think Golden State, who's got a better pitch to anyone than the Golden State Warriors?
No doubt.
You're about to move into a $2 billion facility in the heart of San Francisco, having been to the last 5 finals with Clay and Steph and Draymond and, for the time being, Kevin Durant. Okay? So everybody else, say whatever pitch you want to about reviving New York. Who wants to go do that? I mean, okay. I think that the only ceiling to all this is money. It's the only thing that would keep guys from going there. And maybe the perceived backlash or whatever that people feel like Kevin Durant got for having gone there. Here's what I want to know. If Anthony Davis goes, are people going, oh, you front runner? Is he going to get that put on him?
The first man through the what is it? The first man through the line of battle is always the one that takes the arrow in the back. I think that the vitriol that surrounds this kind of stuff is going to dissipate a little bit because it's going to become the only thing that happens. I thought there was an interesting point that Will Cain made, though. He said that the last quote-unquote super team that was made by a general manager was the Boston Celtics when they made the trades for Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. And it wasn't Paul Pierce recruiting those guys. They went out and made draft day trades for those guys and assembled this team. Mm-hmm. Since then, it's been LeBron James making his team going to Miami. You can give a lot of credit to the Warriors front office, but let's be straight up honest. Draymond Green and Steph Curry got Kevin Durant to Golden State. I mean, they were the ones that pitched that for everybody.
No doubt, but you would be an idiot to go, well, hey, this is my job. Let me take care of this, rather than getting the players together and going, hey, you should tell.
Oh no, totally. I'm just saying. I think Will came in an interesting point though. The player assembled teams have been a lot more volatile than the GM assembled teams. Take that for what it's worth. I want to do some rapid fire with you. I don't want to debate very much. Yep. I just want to just get it in. Okay. Percent chance that Kevin Durant signs with the Warriors?
50.
Wow, that's a lot higher now. I think it's more like 25.
Okay.
If Kevin Durant does not resign with the Warriors, over or under the 4 seed for the Warriors next year? Klay Thompson's going to be, assuming Klay Thompson is out until, I would say his best case scenario is he's back in March.
Yeah,
April.
If Kevin Durant isn't in Golden State, I still think he's in the West. I think it's not super
You do
likely.
think he's in the West. You don't think he's going to the East, because everybody thinks he's going to the East because he's from the East Coast. If he leaves, the top targets likely are New York and Brooklyn.
I don't think Brooklyn is it. It could be New York, the Knicks, but I also think that the Clippers would be great with Kevin Durant, and I think he'd be interested in that. And I don't know.
Okay, so but answer
I'll say over.
I guess I'll give you this.
Over 4.
Who's better, this iteration of the Warriors with no Kevin Durant and no Klay Thompson, or the Blazers?
Yeah, it's very close.
Very close.
It is.
Who's better, the Nuggets or this version of the Warriors?
The Nuggets.
But just by a shade because of depth.
Yeah, and regular season better. But
sure.
They're better than Utah.
They're better than Utah.
They're better.
I mean, in a 7-game series, I'm taking them over Oklahoma City.
Me too.
Purely because of the volatility of OKC.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
They're better than San Antonio?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so they're still the second best team in the West.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely at least the fourth best.
And that's the other thing is, too, if Kevin Durant does leave and Klay Thompson is out, they're not going to be rolling with McKinney. Like, they're going to go get some formidable veterans. What if Boogie Cousins gets a little bit more healthy? And they just give, he didn't produce at a high enough level this year to get a huge contract, I don't think. Someone in the league is going to give him one because the league is stupid. There's going to be a team out there that gives Boogie Cousins $150 million. There is. So maybe he's out, but if he may say he signs a similar deal like he did this year, a 1-year, $10 million deal, let's say, he could give him a contribution too. Okay,
definitely.
Let's keep rolling on this.
Okay.
Percent chance Kawhi Leonard stays in Toronto. 6%. Damn.
I would have had it higher, but when he answers the question last night, now he's not going to answer the question, but Doris Burke asked him.
He can't even answer any of the questions.
Well, of course he can.
He doesn't even want to.
No, he doesn't want to. But when she asked him, what now is your future in Toronto? Of course he's going to say, I'm going to deal with that later. But he didn't say, man, this has been such a great ride. Man, the city of Toronto had a blast. Man, this has been a lot of fun. Really enjoyed being here, and didn't even give I've really liked it and I want to stay thing. Even if he had done that, I'd still put it at maybe 30%. This sounded to me like I'm out the door. Hope you enjoyed it, and they certainly should and do in Toronto. It's great. His legacy is stamped forever in Toronto, and I don't think that he wants to be there, and I think he's gone.
Cap space aside, all this stuff aside, the rosters as they are now, where's the best fit for first Kevin Durant, second Kawhi Leonard, other than the teams they're currently on?
I think the best fit for either of those guys.
Could Kawhi play with LeBron?
Yeah.
Is Kawhi's better fit with the Lakers or the Clippers?
Clippers. I'm going to say the Clippers on both cases because I think the Clippers are
very
built to have a guy who is like I said, a first-team All-Pro talent.
Okay, so who is better for the Clippers? Because I think it's Kevin Durant. I think unquestionably.
I agree.
I honestly think, and again, I've always been critical of Kevin Durant, but I truly think that Kevin Durant needs a specific sort of team to take him to his absolute top level of greatness. He has not had that in 10 years in the NBA yet. I think that the Clippers are the team because I think the Clippers have shooters, they have defensive perimeter guys who can take the pressure off of KD, they got rim runners, they have a great coach. I mean, Kevin Durant, until he played for the Warriors, the coaches in Oklahoma City were not good. And Russell Westbrook was not a good fit for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has produced at an insane level despite what has been afforded him. I think the Clippers would be the absolute perfect team in the entire NBA for Kevin Durant.
I think that. Yeah, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a better situation as it sits right now for KD than the Clippers, except for maybe you don't want to hear it, Golden State Warriors. We've already talked about how defenses are like, well, if we got to deal with Klay and Steph from 3 or Kevin Durant from 2, I guess that's the one we'll opt for.
The other ironic thing, and I guess we're never going to be able to experience this because they're both going to be hurt, but if Kevin Durant was to return for the Warriors before Klay Thompson, I like that team better too. I just think that you're demeaning Draymond Green when you're playing the 4 Warriors superstars together. They're better. Any combination of 3 of them is better than the 4 of them together.
No. The 4 of them together, all of them are worse than what they would be without the 4th one in there, but the 4 together is still better than any combination of the 3 in total. Like they all have to play well below their own individual potentials when they're playing together, but the group of them together is an unsolvable riddle. Like, there is no right answer on what you do with them. And look, again, we said it at the beginning. There is no caveat about this championship for Toronto. Toronto went out and took this. They earned this and everything else. That is all 100% true, and I pay them all the respect for having done what they've done in this entire playoffs and especially in this finals against the Golden State Warriors. And if Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant were not injured, the Golden State Warriors would have been celebrating probably last night. I mean, that's just the facts as I see them, and that is not disparaging in any way. It's a reality of what happens. It's a reality of playing professional sports, of playing any type of sports. Heck, it's sometimes a reality for me of trying to stand up out of a chair. So it is the reality. This is the best team. This is still the best team in the NBA. But now these devastating injuries, they shade things very, very differently. Hey, we got to get out. Got to do some stuff here. Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Sports are on. There's a chick who doesn't know about them. She's going to tell us what she does know about some things. It's always entertaining. Carolyn with us next.
Montana's first and only indoor urban axe throwing facility is open and ready for you to get your axe down here. Lumberjacks Throwing Company, located kitty corner to Draftworks Brewing, is the perfect spot for dates, team building, bachelor parties, or just to blow off some steam after work. Their axe coaches are here to teach you the safety and technique of axe throwing and to get you sticking the axe in no time. Check them out on Facebook or at lumberjacksthrowingcompany.com to book your experience today. Get your axe down here.
Good news. Missoulians can finally move into what we love best, being outside. Garden City Paint and Glass can help you get a head start on all those outside home improvement projects. Now is also a great time to start getting a jump on cracked windows and broken screens. Enjoy up to 25% off select products. And be sure to watch for PPG rebates to help the job along. Look good, stay comfortable, and keep energy costs down at Garden City Paint and Glass. 3217 Brooks or 549-0608.
Les Schwab is proud to introduce two of our best tires ever, just in time for summer. There's our exclusive Reputation, a high-mileage premium passenger tire we believe has the quietest, most comfortable ride ever. Or our exceptionally quiet and smooth all-season traction tire, the Open Range AT. Get $50 off alignment when you purchase a set of 4 Open Range AT or Reputation tires. Book an appointment today at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing matters. Cannot be combined with other offers. Limited time only. See details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, but we also know that you're going to pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it. Well, not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with a staff of specialists that can answer any question. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and, are you ready, lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
The splash of launching a new boat, the quiet of a favorite campsite, the noisy fun of a family barbecue on your new deck. Whatever summer sounds like to you, make it happen with a personal loan from Farmers State Bank. 9 locations to serve you, or start the loan application process online at farmersebank.com. Farmers State Bank, your Montana bank since 1907, an equal housing lender and member FDIC.
Tutel and Nuanez. Listen to the podcast on the TuneIn Radio app or on iTunes. 1029ESPN.com. Tutel and Nuanez. Live on the stream at 1029ESPN.com. The stream is available thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. Now from the Kurtz Polaris studio, here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
Every once in a while, we like to have our friend Carolyn in. By every once in a while, I mean Fridays. And talk to a self-proclaimed chick who doesn't know about sports. So that's what we're going to do right here and right now. Your Friday edition with Carolyn.
Welcome into your favorite segment of the week, a sports update from a chick who claims not to know anything about sports, but she actually does. She's just lying to you. We're loving it, though. Week 6, Carolyn Buckta on the mic. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
What are you burning on this week?
I feel like there's been a series of bad sportsmanship in sports this week, and I think we can start with the Women's World Cup team.
Good. Yes, let's start
Major
there.
point of contention this week on Two Tell Nuanez. Ryan does not like America dominating. I love America dominating and celebrating.
It's not about dominating. It's about sportsmanship.
Correct.
And we teach our third grade soccer players that once you get to a certain level, you either play with your left foot or you keep it cool. Yes, you scored 13 goals. Congrats. You're going to win. That's awesome, but you don't need to rub it in people's faces.
Okay, but on the other hand, this is the world stage. It's the World Championships that's only once every 4 years. And is my argument that this is the culture of women's sports now. Like, a lot of celebration, enthusiasm. I think it's great. I think it's been a good thing for women's sports. And I feel like if you want to have that enthusiasm throughout the entire World Cup, you have to enact it right out the gates. What say you?
I disagree.
You're not just disagree. You're wrong about this. You have got this in volleyball and in softball because on the benches and on the court they do this dance and they do their cheers and so forth and so on throughout the course of the game. Both teams, all of this. Every other thing is just celebrating the success of having, whether it was in this case scored a goal. It's not endemic to women's sports.
I agree, and I don't think, I mean, if this were men, would you be having this argument? I don't really understand why you're putting this all on women's sports.
No, it has nothing to do with this. I want everybody to celebrate everything. If you are a high-level athlete and you do something, celebrate it. I think bat flips are great. I think taunting is great. I think talking smack is great. I think if you hit somebody hard in a football game, stand over them. That's what sports is. It's about winning. It's about winning.
It is about winning, but it's
Why
also...
are we all so sensitive?
We're not, but I just think there's this thing called sportsmanship, and you say, you know what? I'm winning and I'm really excited about it, but these guys are losing and they're probably really sad about it. So let's just be polite.
But why do I care if they're sad?
Because it's
Shake
nice,
their hand afterwards.
Because it's called being a nice human.
That's where we delineate. I don't care about any of that stuff.
Well, then, sucks to be you.
Matt, this is really sportsy for you this week. I mean, we haven't said anything about People Magazine or
Yes.
Netflix or any. Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
The night is still young.
Okay.
So, speaking of bad sportsmanship,
Yes.
I was born in Canada.
Right.
And everyone knows Canadians are the most polite, kind people, which is clearly why I'm so passionate about
That
sportsmanship.
has been our experience of you, Carolyn, for
yes,
sure.
I'm the kindest human you'll ever know.
Polite.
Yes, very polite and delicate. But I noticed in the Toronto in the NBA Finals, Kevin Durant was injured, and
Yes.
the Toronto fans cheered.
Yes.
And I found that to be horribly rude. But now I'm wondering if that's why Drake is acting this way. Maybe the Canadians aren't as polite as we thought.
Well, I mean, you would be the expert on this, being a Canadian yourself. Clearly, when they started cheering, that was in poor taste. I also thought it was sort of like a caught up in the moment thing because it was during the action. It wasn't like behind the play or whatever. It was pretty obvious what had happened, and people were already cheering loudly in the moment, and then a group actually kept cheering, and then finally were shut up by their own by the Raptors team, who I think handled themselves very well in that particular moment, actually. But yeah, all of a sudden I'm sitting here going, well, what's going on? Is there a dictatorship going on in Canada now? All of a sudden everybody's angry and
maybe,
bitter.
Or maybe they've never had a basketball championship, so they don't know how to act.
Was there a lack of poutine running around? Is that what
Maybe.
they call it?
Poutine.
Poutine.
You said
Good
poutine.
try. God, Dave Chappelle.
I don't know.
The other thing is maybe they're used to hockey, and they're excited when people fight in hockey. I can say this because I'm Canadian. I can talk about them this way. Maybe that's what they thought. Maybe they thought it was a hockey situation. No?
Celebrating scoring your first goal when you're up 8-0, not bad sportsmanship. Cheering Kevin Durant's torn Achilles, bad sportsmanship.
How is Kevin doing now?
Kevin had a surgery on his ruptured Achilles. He will be out for a full year.
And the Golden State Warriors also lost the entire NBA Finals last night to Toronto.
Oh, so how did Drake react? I missed it. Did he do like the moonwalk across?
What were you watching? Sunset Strip
City?
I
or
was
what?
actually watching the Lego movie on my back porch with my children. Thank you. And playing pickleball.
Yeah. Nice boys.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel a sense of Canadian pride now, knowing the Toronto Raptors are the world champions?
I was born in Toronto, just in case you were wondering.
You mentioned that.
Did I say
You did.
Toronto, though? I just wanted to let you know what
right.
city.
Toronto is not Canada. Canada's not Toronto.
I mean, I just want to be clear on that.
Yeah,
yeah.
no, you
I
didn't
mean,
say that.
I think if Drake hadn't ruined it and then the people hadn't cheered for someone getting injured, I'd feel a little better about things. I'm actually a Bulls fan, so I'm indifferent too. I'm also from Chicago.
Do you know
heard.
that the NBA draft is Thursday?
Well,
and the
I
Chicago Bulls have what pick, Coulter? Do you know?
I think the 7th.
7? Okay. It's right in there somewhere.
Okay.
Any idea who they're going to take?
Well,
Greg Kardashian?
who's Greg Kardashian?
I don't have any idea.
That's,
You
I was gonna say Scottie Pippen.
Yes.
That's about my knowledge of the Bulls.
They should draft
Dennis
Scottie
Rodman?
Pippen.
Anyway, the other thing we wanted to chat about was a cage match with Tom Cruise and Justin Bieber.
Oh.
So I guess we're just trying to figure out who would win. I guess Justin Bieber challenged Tom Cruise to a cage match. I'm not sure.
Well,
See,
I
another
would do
Canadian
that.
getting a little sassy this week.
So they're actually like MMA style, or is it something else?
In the octagon.
I mean, I think they'll just slap each other like little.
I got Justin Bieber because he's in great shape. He's younger by like 25 years at least, right? So he's going to have better stamina. And also, Tom Cruise is tiny. Like,
Well,
I mean,
so-
Justin
but I think
Bieber's
Justin
got the
Bieber's
reach.
pretty small, too.
What? I thought he's
Tom
like 6
Cruise.
feet.
Tom Cruise is listed at 5'7", 135. Justin Bieber listed at 5'9", 140.
Oh, is that true?
That's true.
Oh, I
Do
thought,
we know why
I thought
Justin
Biebs
Bieber
was bigger than that.
Do we know why Justin Bieber did this? Like, is there a reason? I mean,
Well,
besides Tom Cruise is a.
I mean,
Can I say that? No, I can't.
I mean, I think that the list of people who would like to get into the ring with Cruz is pretty long, and it doesn't surprise me that it includes Bieber. And I think, frankly, the list that would like to get into the ring with Bieber is probably pretty long as well.
Yeah,
Maybe
let's
that's the
talk
question:
about-
who has more people that want to fight them?
I want to punch them both in the face.
So you're on both lists. I'm on both lists.
I mean, I love Justin Bieber, and I hate Tom Cruise.
So you're on Cruz's
So you wanna
list
beat
and
down
not on
Tom
Bieber's
Cruise.
list.
But, like, if you believe in all the stuff,
Believe
Tom Cruise is like maybe an alien.
he's a Scientologist.
He's a Scientologist.
Yeah,
He's
like
gone to the
level-
special planet. He's
Yeah.
gone clear. He has
Yeah.
superpowers.
Okay, well,
Justin Bieber just writes great pop songs.
Look, man.
Really? Does he even write them?
He does.
Oh, wow. You know a lot about
I'm not,
the Biebs.
I'm not convinced of that second bit. I'm not convinced of the first bit either. I don't know. I think it's equally likely that Justin Bieber writes his own pop songs and that Tom Cruise went to another planet. I think those are both
The same. Okay.
have the same credibility.
You ever seen Tom Cruise's center tooth? He doesn't have two front teeth. He's got one.
One
right in
Well,
the
he
center.
got braces in the early 2000s to fix that. Okay.
Thank you, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2, U.S. Open. Updates next. Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
Treat Dad right Father's Day with the Montana Club's awesome all-you-can-eat buffet featuring all of the slow-roasted prime rib and glazed ham Dad can put away, plus bacon, sausage, eggs, sweet treats, fresh fruit, and more. Or bring them in for dear old Dad dinner specials like osso buco and steak Sinatra. We'll even treat Dad to a free brewski on Father's Day. Father's Day all-you-can-eat buffet from 8 to 2 or palate-pleasing Papa dinner specials 3 to close. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, who pump it up? Pump it up.
If you're looking for the perfect snack and drink combo, then you need to stop into your local Town Pump, where you can get a 12-pack of Corona for $14.99 and a delicious fresh wrap in our deli for only $3.49. Town Pump Food Stores, proud to be part of our community.
Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
Springtime is the time to buy a new Polaris off-road vehicle. During the spring sales event, rebates go as high as $1,500 and financing is as low as 3.99%. Live your life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle anything from mountains to mud holes on a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger, or take on any task or trail in a versatile Polaris General. Whatever you're looking for, now is the time to take your pick from the off-road's best-selling lineup. See Polaris.com or your Polaris dealer for rebates up to $1,500 and financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months during the Polaris Spring Sales event at Kurtz Polaris. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. Recreate the right way with Kurtz Polaris, online at kurtzpolaris.com. Offer valid in U.S. through 5/31/19 on new 2015 through 2019 vehicles. Subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride. Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here, and I'm with Josh of the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Josh, what are people left dealing with after an accident?
Well, quite a few things, actually. We see people that are in pain, they still need to get to work, they need to raise their kids, and now they have to take time to go see doctors and other healthcare providers. They're frustrated with working with the insurance companies and getting the runaround. We'll take on the burden of dealing with the insurance companies so you can get the best settlement possible and get back to your life.
Find your advocate online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers. You deserve an advocate.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Sports Center. For the first time in their franchise's brief history, the Toronto Raptors are the champions of the NBA. Kawhi Leonard earned Finals MVP honors for the second time in his career by denying a second three-peat as the Raptors posted a 114-110 win in the final game in Oracle Arena history. The Game 6 victory helped the Raptors claim the basketball's ultimate prize in their 25th season of existence, denying the Golden State Warriors their fourth championship in 5 years in the process.
Leonard's heroics and the depth of the Raptors were largely overshadowed by a cloud of injuries for the Warriors. In Game 5, two-time reigning Finals MVP Kevin Durant suffered a torn Achilles. In the third quarter of Game 6, Klay Thompson suffered what ended up being diagnosed as a torn ACL in his left knee. Those injuries played a huge factor in denying the Warriors from becoming the first team in nearly 50 years to win 4 championships in 5 seasons.
Billings Skyview Junior Jordan Rowe has been honored as the 2018-19 Gatorade Montana Girls Soccer Player of the Year. Rowe is the first Skyview girls soccer player to earn that honor. As a 5'4" forward, she earned the Eastern AA MVP honors in the fall after leading the Falcons to a 15-0 season, capped by a 6-0 win over Missoula Big Sky in the state AA title game. She scored 21 goals and dished out a Class AA record 20 assists during the season. U.S. Open, Justin Rose currently leading the field by 2. He is 7 under. Four guys at 5 under. 4 guys at 4 under. A whole bunch of guys at 3 under, but only one guy at 7 under. It's Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. U.S. Open, rocking and rolling at Pebble Beach. Love it when it's on the West Coast, and they're playing competitive golf at 5, 6, 7 p.m. Mountain. Wingfoot in New York next year, get it out of here. Has there ever been a U.S. Open played in the Mountain Time Zone? We should look into that. It would have to be like if it was
Has
maybe
there
like
been
an
any
Arizona
pro golf tournament played in the Mountain Time Zone? Like any major? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, not a major. I'm just wondering any PG. Well, okay, the Waste Management that Phoenix is in.
Depends on the time of year because Arizona has its own time zone.
They don't have their own. Well, they do have their own.
They don't do daylight savings.
It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at. Almost choked.
I don't know what's going on.
I just took a breath and I almost choked. KurtzPolaris.com.
Can't feel my hands.
If you want to call, 329-1899, that's the phone number. All guests join us via the Rankage Brothers RV phone line. If you missed anything in the first hour, all our talk about the Raptors and the Warriors and the injuries and the free agency and all of it, the podcast. It's available on the TuneIn Radio app, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, all of your favorite podcasting platforms. Check it out. Rate it, review it, subscribe to it. We appreciate all of that. Podcast is available thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel.
10 states have never hosted a PGA Tour stop. Name them.
Okay. I like this game. Montana.
There's one.
North Dakota.
There's two.
Idaho. I'll say Idaho.
Nope.
No, it has. Okay. South Dakota.
Yep.
Wyoming.
Yep. There's one other no-brainer.
Alaska.
Yeah, there it is.
Now, Maine.
Maine is good.
6.
Yeah.
Vermont.
Yeah.
New Hampshire.
Yep.
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island has.
This
is very good. You're like batting 90% right now. So you're too short.
New Mexico.
New Mexico. One more for the win.
Has California ever? I mean, I gotta think. How about Arkansas?
Nope. That has.
Utah?
It has.
Kansas?
Nope.
Nebraska?
East Coast.
East Coast?
Yeah.
Is it like Delaware?
Delaware.
Okay.
Very good on your first 9.
Yeah. Took me a couple to get that 10th one.
Very good.
Trivia question. Like that.
One other piece of news
Yes.
that I did not include in the Sports Center, neglected to, should have. Shannon Swain signed 1-year extension. University of Montana, as first reported by Bill Speltz of the Missoulian. Missoulian, see what I did there?
I do see what you did there. Interesting. It's just since Shannon Swain took over as the head coach of the Lady Grizz have not been anything like what they have been historically under Coach Robin Selvig. They also have endured maybe the most significant rash of injuries that I'm aware of certainly to a single basketball team in succession. I mean, it's just truly anomalous and so very disappointing. And so it's really hard at this point to me to even gauge, okay, well, how good a job has Shannon Swain done or not done as the head coach of the Lady Grizz? I think it's a very open question. I'll say that. I think there's reasons to think she's done a very a good and credible job at times. I think there's reasons to think that she has not done as good a job at other times. And obviously, it's a difficult scenario when people go down. I mean, Steve Kerr's looking up going, well, should have had another ring on this figure, and it's not there. So, but a 1-year extension. We'll see what happens from there. Colt, let's talk about the U.S. Open. It has shifted since I last spoke to you. Justin Rose is in the clubhouse. Interesting. Well, I would rather, I don't know. So here's what they do. When in the first 2 days of really all the PGA events, but especially the majors, you have basically 2 flights, a morning and an afternoon rounds to get everybody on. And if you play in the afternoon on Thursday, then you play in the morning on Friday. So it's a short turnaround. You're out there late. You go to bed, you got to get up early and get your morning tee time. A lot more time to rest between rounds if you play in the morning on Thursday. But also, if you make the cut, you're out there, right away on Saturday, coming off of potentially late round on Friday. So I guess it kind of all works out. They do it mostly for the weather because the weather can shift, obviously, significantly from morning to afternoon to evening in a lot of places. Justin Rose has played both his rounds, 65 yesterday, 6 under 65 on Thursday. He shot a 1 under 70 today. He is in the clubhouse at 7 under. He is alone in first. Louis Oosthuizen, the South African, is alone in second. He is now birdied number 5. I think he birdied 4, bogeyed 5, and then birdied 6 to get back to 6 under. He had a 66 yesterday. He's 1 under on the day through 6, 66 today. Aaron Wise Gary Woodland and Rory McIlroy are all 5 under right now. McIlroy is 2 under on the day, and just then now, of course, 2 back of the lead. And then a whole group, including Brooks Koepka. Brooks Koepka shot another 2 under today, so he shot 69 both days. He's in the clubhouse at 4 under, lurking, as they say. They're at 4. And then on down the list you go. Sergio Garcia is there at 4 under, Matt Kuchar as well. And Phil Mickelson is 3 under today. He shot a 1 over 72 yesterday, 3 under today through 8 holes. Phil Mickelson, lefty, feeling it. Very much in the mix at 2 under with an entire, 10 holes to play out on the course. I know a lot of people obviously rooting for Phil Mickelson today, particularly given, the fact that he needs a U.S. Open for a career slam, which seems at this point a bit far-fetched, right? Not
Lefty's
far-fetched.
Never won the U.S. Open. He's finished second like 7 times, right?
6 times.
He's never actually won it.
That's right. It's the one major he hasn't won to have the career slam. 5 guys have won all 4 majors over the course of their career. And Phil Mickelson would then, of course, be the 6th, and that puts you in the most historic of historic company.
Who are the 5? Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus.
I think it's
Ben Hogan, Sam Snead, Walter Hagen.
Something like that. So yeah, it's the pillars of the game have won the career slam, and yeah, to be 6-time runner-up is just, it's unthinkable, really. It really is unthinkable. Of course, Jack Nicklaus, Coulter, he's got 18 majors, right? Mm-hmm. He's the 18 majors. I believe this is right. 19 seconds in majors.
Unbelievable.
37 top 2s in majors?
Unbelievable.
Come on.
Tiger, Ben Hogan, and Jack Nicklaus were right. Walter Hagen, Sam Snead wrong. Gene Sarazen and Gary Player.
Okay. Gary Player, of course, yes. By the way, Tiger Woods, people interested in Tiger, 72 today, 1 over.
I think people are so interested in Tiger that the lead story on ESPN's golf page is Tiger Woods' wasted day at the U.S. Open.
72 today, shot 1 over today, and is now even on the tournament. 1 over yesterday, 1 under yesterday, 1 over today. And so he will make the weekend. The projected cut line is now at +1, which means for the cut line, if the cut line is +1, if you are at +1, you are safe. You are okay. So the cut line includes that number. So he is actually 2 clear. The cut line would have to go to -1, which it is not going to do for him to not make the cut at even. So he will be around on the weekend, but he will be teeing off early because he's going to be in the bottom quarter, bottom 20% of the field that is going to be around for the weekend. But also, it's not like 7 strokes in 2 days is not anything that any of these guys couldn't make up. It's not like there's one guy who's gone out there and is all of a sudden 11, 12 under and has a 4-shot lead, over the field heading into the weekend. Who knows? It won't surprise me at all if Justin Rose, by the time they close business today, is not the leader in this tournament right now. As it looks right now, Coulter, the guys, we've said this. What do we want to see? Well, what we want to see is
big timers.
Ricky Fowler and Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy and Brooks Koepka walking down the fairways in the last groups on Sunday. Phil and Tiger, okay, how great would that be? As it is right now, who do you like in terms of the guys, the way that they're playing, to go out there and be in those last 2-3 groups on Sunday afternoon?
Well, Rory has proven that he's red hot right now, so yes. I think he's definitely got to be in the mix. Justin Rose, like you told me a stat, 1-putted, 12 times, 14 times?
14
on
putts.
Thursday?
They only play 18 holes of golf. 14 1-putts. The other 4, by the way, yes, he blew up and 2-putted.
This article on Tiger Woods shows that Tiger is actually locked in. He's just not putting well. This references 9 different birdie putts between 8 and 12 feet that Tiger Woods missed today. That's why it's the title of the article is Tiger Woods' missed opportunities in this round. Mm-hmm. He shot a 70. He played 29 holes of bogey-free golf before getting a bogey on his 17th hole of the day, which was the 8th hole because he teed off on the back 9.
Mm-hmm.
But too bad that Tiger's not going to be a little bit more in the mix. Like you said, 7 strokes, it's not completely insurmountable, but with as many guys that are playing well and under par right now, I mean, this is a lot of guys we got 27 guys under par right now. Going into the weekend, that's a lot at the U.S. Open. So that means a lot of guys are playing well.
Birdied 6, now is tied for the lead.
Oosthuizen is such an interesting one because it's like last time we golfed, like I told you. It ain't how good you hit it, it's how many times. And the thing about Oosthuizen is when he gets his putter can get as hot or hotter than any guy in the entire world, with the exception of maybe Jordan Spieth. And so Justin Rose is one of those guys where when he's one putt, it's because he's pounding it 8 feet from the pin over and over and over. He's a really good putter.
Great putter.
But Oosthuizen is a guy where, like, if he's even on the green, if his putter's hot, he's in the mix. If it's like 30 feet, he can drill that thing, especially when he gets that momentum. He starts celebrating and dancing around. So, I mean, the fact that he's throwing down this number right now, he's got to be in the mix.
Oh, for sure.
And Koepka's there. Koepka's there, and it's hard to have him not be in the mix when he's shooting the scores he's shooting. And, Ricky Fowler's not playing great today, but he played great yesterday.
That's right. And he was 5 under yesterday. He's now 2 over on the day, but he's still 3 under for the tournament and obviously still has 9-10 holes to go. Here's what's great. Justin Rose, Louis Oosthuizen, Rory McIlroy, Matt Kuchar, Brooks Koepka, Adam Scott, Ricky Fowler are all within, they're all 3 under or better and in the mix. But this is what happens in majors. Guess who else is there? Aaron Wise, Gary Woodland, Ches Reeve, Jason Hadley,
right.
And as these guys, it's a coin flip chance of top top 10, top 15 world ranked golfers that are guys that everybody knows and others who are just jumping up and having a great week. And so that's why you end up with these, on Sunday when it's Francisco Molinari, who's an unbelievable golfer and won the doggone thing anyways. When it's him and Tiger walking down, you're right. You're like, well, this isn't the head-to-head drama that I was, hoping to see if it had been, say, a Brooks Koepka or a Dustin Johnson or something like that.
There's no real big-time superstars, though, outside the cut line, with the exception of, Brent Snedeker is a kind of a borderline name. He's good.
Great commercials.
But not necessarily a superstar per se. Jason Day was on that brink for a minute, but he has really been kind of a non-factor the last, as many as even we're getting into the third year of him being an almost non-factor. And other than that, almost everybody that's below the cut line are nondescript names. And I think that's one of the things, we have seen every single one of these guys, honestly, go out and blow it and not make the cut in majors. I think that would be one thing that's interesting is at least everybody that we want to see and watch is going to be at least playing on the weekend. Tiger missed the cut at the PGA, right?
Yeah, he did.
And we've seen Ricky Fowler and Rory McIlroy miss cuts. Where's Dustin Johnson at?
I was just going to say the biggest disappointment so far is Dustin Johnson, who is...
He's the one name I didn't see.
1 over.
But he's still going to make the cut.
Well, he's on hole 8. He's 1 over on the day. If he goes 2 over, if he
projected cut is where?
Is 1 over.
1 over. Oh, 2 over.
Well, the cut line is 1 over, which means if
you're
2 over, you're out. And so Dustin would have to, have another bogey in there. But look, he's got 10 holes left to play. If he plays them at over par, he's not going to be there for the weekend. And I think Dustin Johnson gets so much love for how great and how talented he is, and he deserves all of it because he is all those things. He's got one major and has shown that he has at times not had the mentality or the mental focus and tenacity to be there when it really matters. And, there's a bunch of guys winning a bunch of tournaments, winning a bunch of majors. For him to be as good as he is, as talented as he is, and consistently not winning these things, is, and not, at some point you got to go, hey, DJ, what's going on?
It's a perplexing balancing act.
Yes, it is.
Because he's finished in the top 15 as much as any of these guys. He has been having his round shown on Sundays as frequently as anybody on tour when it comes to majors. But like you said, one win. I don't know. It's kind of how do you want to play this thing? Because there is the delineation. It's like I said the other day. If you choose to let it rip, there is a chance you're going to miss the cut.
Yep. To your point, Coulter, you've said there is no sport in which the professionals in their sport are more better than what I am than golf, and golf is the sport that I'm the best at of all the sports that there are. It is absolutely true. Just a couple of points to that end. You already mentioned 14 one-putts by Justin Rose yesterday. It seems incomprehensible. It happened. Also, number 10, 497-yard par 4. First of all,
you love this.
Any one of you out there, find me one of those. Can you find me one place where you can go anywhere and tee it up and have it be a 500-yard par 4? And these are
hole
routine
number 2 at Canyon Rivers, 487.
If you get
par
out there,
4.
Best of luck to you.
Best of luck to you.
497-yard par 4, bordering the ocean with a cliff off the right. First of all, Brooks Koepka yesterday on number 10 goes driver 9-iron to 12 feet. 500 yards of distance. Driver 9-iron. Okay? Also, as I was already bad-mouthing Francisco Molinari, Francisco Molinari takes it off the cliff, slices his drive out of here, has to drop a ball, take a penalty stroke. You know what he got on the hole? 4. Made par. On a 500-yard par 4 with a penalty stroke. Let me tell you something. These people, they're not human. You said Tom Cruise an alien? The PGA Tour golfers are aliens. That's all I'm saying. Coulter, it's Father's Day this weekend, my friend. I know what you got lined up. Golf, and more golf.
I'm trying to get you to go because you're my favorite dad.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm going to see what I can get out there with. You'd think I'd be able to call my own shot on this thing, but I just can't. But I'll tell you one thing. If I can, I'll meet you at Canyon River. Canyon River has an outstanding golf course out there at East Missoula, spectacularly located, as you know. Well, on the Clark Fork River, beautiful. It's amazing how much the terrain changes just 5 miles when you go out there and you're actually in the canyon, the mountains coming up out of there. Great aspects and a spectacular course. And now, brand new fleet of golf carts outfitted with the Shark Experience. That's right, the Greg Norman Shark Experience. What is it? Well, it allows it's dynamic interaction on a touch screen with every hole. So you know exact distances to the front and back of greens, to the pin, to bunkers, to water hazards, and you can also set up your shot by touching the screen. Say, maybe, just maybe, you're not quite on the fairway. It's okay. You're still going to know how far away it is to go to any spot. You can touch any spot on the hole, and it'll give you the immediate distance to that. Very helpful. Also, Bluetooth. You want some music? You want maybe a little bit of rap for your round. Maybe you want to do a little bit of country music. However you want to do it. Maybe you want some Tutel Nuanez podcast. You hook up your Bluetooth, you can do that. Or they got satellite radio in that thing. Sports talk, all the music genres, everything. Surround sound speakers, all included in the car. How much you paying? Are they jacking up the prices? No, they're not. In fact, go online to CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. You can book your tee times. You'll be amazed. You're talking about 18 holes of golf for $30. You can get it out there on some of these tee times. It's truly remarkable. Go check it out. CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. It is Missoula's best golf experience. Quick break. On the other side, All-Star Badlands Bowl coming up next.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
Alpine Touch has been providing you with the distinct seasonings you know and love for decades. Now, Alpine Touch has something to help you unleash the freshness of all the delicious flavors you need to spice up any meal. Check out Alpine Touch's new coarse grinds, unleashing the fresh taste of the garlic pepper or all-purpose seasonings to please any nose or taste bud. Coarse grinds can be purchased by the pound at retail locations around the state or at alpinetouch.com. Use the code ESPN10 at checkout to get 10% off any online order. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here with Josh from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident and need help dealing with the insurance company, you should give The Advocates a call.
It doesn't cost anything at all to call, and I'd be happy to talk with you about your situation. You don't want to have to be dealing with contacting the insurance companies and setting up your claim. We can do that for you from start to finish. We'll take the hassle out of the process so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give Josh a call, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers, but you deserve an advocate.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
It's a crisp fall morning. Time for your daily pumpkin soy latte. As you wait for your coffee, you get a buzz. No, it's not your boss wanting extra whipped cream, but your ADT video doorbell. It's a package. Your new latte machine. No more $5 PSLs. Barista service. Brought to you by ADT. Designing and installing a smart home just for you. Backed by best-in-class 24/7 protection. Learn more at ADT.com. ADT. Real protection. License information available at ADT.com.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good evening. Happy Father's Day weekend. It is Tutel Nuanez 102.9 ESPN Radio. We got a little Sports Center for you for the first time in their franchise brief history. The Toronto Raptors are the champions of the NBA. Kawhi Leonard in Finals MVP honors for the second time in his career by denying a second three-peat as the Raptors posted a 114-110 win in the final game in Oracle Arena history. The Game 6 victory helped the Raptors claim the basketball's ultimate prize in their 25th season of existence, denying the Golden State Warriors their fourth championship in 5 years in the process.
In case you didn't hear, Warriors were really hurt in the series, including torn Achilles for Kevin Durant and a torn ACL for Klay Thompson. Definitely factors in the NBA Finals. But in Montana news, University of Montana women's basketball coach Shannon Schwein confirmed Thursday she has signed a contract to coach the Lady Grizz. 2019-2020 season, 1-year extension for Schwein, who enters her fourth season. She returns 6 battle-tested guards and 5 veteran forwards, plus adds 4-star recruit Jamie Pickens from Helena High. Lady Grizz 14-16 last year, lost in the first round of the Big Sky Conference tournament.
U.S. Open in progress right now. 2 players at 7 under. Justin Rose, a 1 under 70 today. He's in the clubhouse at 7 under. Will be there for the weekend. And Louis Oosthuizen, also 7 under, now 2 under today through 7 holes. Still has 11 holes left to play on the day. A lot of big-name kids playing in the Badlands Bowl. 10 Montana and Montana State commits, in fact. A lot of talent out there on that field. It's 210 and 102.9 ESPN Radio, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Online at kurtzpolaris.com. It's time for our Prep Extra segment. It is brought to us by the Farmers State Bank. Farmers State Bank, make us your bank. And Coulter, you got a bunch of stuff here to go through.
I do. I think we got to follow up on our coach's corner from yesterday first.
Yeah.
Zayden Pitts resigned abruptly and somewhat surprisingly from R.Lee.
Yes.
And he made some pretty pointed and, quite frankly, harsh statements at R.Lee's basketball awards ceremony, talking about the administration at R.Lee and just the way that they kind of weren't getting along. He did not go into specifics, but he did say things like they broke him and that this had been the hardest 7 years of his life. And it sounded like it was just not it was a tenuous situation, to say the least. The R.Lee school district released a statement. It reads, Mr. Pitts chose to blame the administration for his departure and to make derogatory comments about school staff who have attempted to hold him accountable during his tenure as the boys basketball coach. For several years and through many administrators, the district has addressed Mr. Pitts' misconduct both formally and informally with varying degrees of success. Public school districts are required to follow federal and state rules regarding equity in high school sports, and the Montana High School Athletic Association enforces additional rules regarding benefits to student athletes. Mr. Pitts was reprimanded formally and informally for violating these rules, and he continued to disregard the direction of the administrators who were tasked with addressing its misconduct. Most recently, Mr. Pitts had a violent outburst in another school's locker room and destroyed the school's property. This incident reflected poorly on the R.Lee School District and the boys basketball program, and the district was obligated to reimburse the other school for vandalism. The district charged Mr. Pitts with the cost it incurred for his violent outburst, and he expressed significant dissatisfaction with that decision. They go on to talk about just the way that this has been, how his varying levels of support. I mean, basically, when he was first hired as the coach, he was not voted in. It was a stalemate vote, 2-2, multiple abstaining school members, and Dave Weitzel, who I believe is Greg Weitzel's father, who's the superintendent of R.Lee schools, basically was the deciding vote to get Pitts hired. But on the other hand of that, though, he was offered a contract extension May 1, and he declined to accept it. So still, we got a little bit more information here, but still a lot of gray area. Also, this article by Frank Gogula, who, by the way, shout out to Frank. He's doing a good job reporting this, says that the incident might have centered upon when R.Lee beat Loyola on a buzzer beater, and in celebration, Pitts allegedly slapped a whiteboard and he broke it. No one wanted to comment on it. It doesn't seem like that big of a thing to me. This just seems like a lot of mudslinging at this point. Regardless, I guess the point of the story is there is two sides to every story, but I think that at the end of the day, in this story, nobody is winning. Everybody is losing, because I think we could both agree that Zayden Pitts, first of all, did a tremendous job and also loves coaching, and it's going to be sad for everybody in the community that if he's not a part of the sports community in Montana.
Well, when you frame something as a violent outburst that might actually be a celebration on a huge buzzer-beating victory, spin.
Totally.
So, look, you and I both, know Zayden a little bit, have talked to him, and obviously in a situation in which two parties, whether they're individuals or whether they're groups of people or whatever, are not getting along for whatever reason, there's going to be two different sides, and you're right. I mean, it is trying to make your case and say why the other party is basically responsible for the situation being what it is. I'm not here to say which side is what's what. I will say it's disappointing that it couldn't there couldn't be a resolution to a situation, right? Because one thing you can say for sure is that Zayden Pitts is the head coach of the R.Lee Warriors basketball team. Outstanding as a basketball team, and also doing some really good things in addition to that, obviously, as well. All right. Colton, did you want to get into these rosters at all?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's rip through them real quick. Mondac game, the Knights of Columbus Badlands Bowl. It'll take place in Miles City on Saturday, so that's exciting.
Okay.
Excuse me.
You're excused.
The coaches for this thing, Rob Stanton is the head coach. He's from Billings West, as well as Billings West assistants, Matt Hallwell and Kane Clonch. Also, Jim Stanton, who's the head coach of Billings Central. Les Meyer, who's the head coach at Fairfield, also the father of Ryder Meyer, the great Class B All-Star Game MVP, who's coming to the Grizzlies, and Greg Horton from Great Falls Central. Those are your coaches. On down the roster, the future Bobcats and Grizzlies playing this game. The two quarterbacks are going to be Blake Thielen from Great Falls High, who's joining the Bobcats, and Chris Brown from Bozeman High, who's joining the Grizzlies. The running backs include Joe Olson from Bozeman. This will be interesting because Olson was absolutely annihilating the state. He had 1,200 yards rushing 5 weeks through the year, and then he broke his arm. So he hasn't got a chance to play. Hopefully he's healthy. I think, you're talking 9 months removed from a broken arm, so he should be just fine. But he'll also probably be raring to go since he didn't get a chance to play much of his high school football season. He's going to the Bobcats, by the way. Wide receivers include Jesse Owens from Billings West, who's going to the Grizzlies, Noah Ambuel from Great Falls Central, who's going to the Grizzlies, as well as far as local products go, Cameron Rothy from Hamilton is also a wide receiver. On the offensive line, Justin Perkins from Bozeman, he's going to the Bobcats. Holden Sampson from Helena High, he's going to the Bobcats. On the defensive line, Marcus Ware from Billings Central, who's also going to the Bobcats. The linebackers include Alex Johnson from Helena High, who's going to be a Bobcat, and the defensive backs include Krishawn Dixon, Billings Central, who was arguably the number one football prospect in the state, but is actually going to go play basketball at Montana State Billings. Trevin Gradney from Billings West, who's coming to the Grizzlies. And that is all as far as the future Bobcats and Grizzlies. So the sum total, 6 future Bobcats, 4 future Grizzlies playing in this Mondac game.
Coulter, thank you very much. So your Prep Extra segment is brought to us by the Farmer State Bank. Farmer State Bank, look, link your Farmer State Bank debit card to the MyCard app, and you can shut off your debit card right from your phone. Safe, secure, instant. When you locate your card, turn it back on again. That easy from Farmer State Bank. Quick break. We'll come back. Boys and girls, you know what it is? Opening day of Pioneer League Baseball. We got the Missoula Osprey at Great Falls. That game's going to be coming up. We'll go coverage that in about an hour from now, but got a chance to catch up with a couple of coaches yesterday. Casey Judge, the hitting coach, and Juan Francio is the new manager, the head man for the Missoula Osprey. You will hear from them right after this.
Montana's first and only indoor urban axe throwing facility is open and ready for you to get your axe down here. Lumberjacks Throwing Company, located kitty corner to Draftworks Brewing, is the perfect spot for dates, team building, bachelor parties, or just to blow off some steam after work. Their axe coaches are here to teach you the safety and technique of axe throwing and to get you sticking the axe in no time. Check them out on Facebook or at lumberjacksthrowingcompany.com to book your experience today. Get your axe down here.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, but we also know that you're going to pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it. Well, not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with a staff of specialists that can answer any question. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and, are you ready, lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
When you need a bank to help ramp up your savings strategy, look to your local bank, Opportunity Bank of Montana. Build confidence in your financial future when you create a rainy day cushion or take care of the nest egg you already have. Opportunity Bank offers options from basic savings to money market accounts and certificates with competitive rates. There's nothing like the feeling of progress, so let's get started today. Come see us at Opportunity Bank of Montana. OpportunityBank.com. Member FDIC.
Hey everybody, here with my good friend Josh from the Advocates Injury Law Firm. Josh, if I've been in an accident, how much is it going to cost me to hire you?
Well, we take cases on a contingency fee. And what that means for you is that if you're hurt in an accident, we only get paid if you make a recovery. You'll never owe us anything out of pocket.
What about the call for a consultation?
That's not a problem. We don't charge anything for an initial consultation, so you have absolutely nothing to risk by calling us.
If you're injured in a car accident, call the Advocates, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com.
You're a big league fan. You expect big league service. At the Desperado, you get exactly that. With 35 flat screens, ice cold brews on tap, and Missoula's #1 wings, you're free to sit back and enjoy every pitch. This summer, make the Desperado your baseball home away from home. Cool off after work, relax on the weekends, soak in some great food and drinks, and watch your team make yet another great push for October. And hey, if yours can't do it, there's plenty of other teams and fun to go around at the Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell across from the Y.
Still emerging from your winter hibernation and need to get your bearings straight? Cruise on down to Port of Missoula for all your spring and summer needs. Come check out their men's and women's streetwear, sunglasses, and shoes from brands like Vans, Adidas, Thrasher, Volcom, and the original Port of Missoula brand. They also have all your skating needs covered, from tune-ups to fresh-made custom boards. Port of Missoula, Missoula's original board shop since 1989, on the Hip Strip, 618 South Higgins.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Now they always say congratulations. Work so hard, forgot how to vacation. They ain't never had the dedication.
Tutel and Nuanez. All guests join the show on the Rangage Brothers RV phone line. Broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studio on ESPN Radio in Western Montana and across the state on SWX television. Here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
Rory McIlroy, 6 under. Made another birdie. Phillip just poured in a birdie. Like he's 2 under. Starting to make some moves here in the afternoon. Pebble Beach. Hey, if you missed anything in the show, we got you covered on the podcast. Podcast available on the TuneIn Radio app and on iTunes and on Spotify. The podcast can be rated and reviewed and given comments and so forth. We encourage you to do all of that. Click on the links in there for us. That'd be great. Podcast is available thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Coulter, the Wingate, more than just for a night of sleep if you're traveling or whatever. They got a whole facility out there. Business travelers, individuals from town. You got a banquet you got to have. All that stuff. They got you covered out there at the Wingate.
Places in Montana. Great to visit in the summer, right? A lot of people on the road a lot in the summer. A lot of times that means hotels, especially for corporate business travel members, are more expensive. Not true at the Wingate. If you're tired of getting your business rates jacked up, fear not. When you choose to stay at the Wingate by Wyndham, many of other hotels raise their travel rates in the summer, but the Wingate is committed to keeping their rates the same year-round for qualified customers. If you're a business traveler who's tired of summer rate increases, Wingate by Wyndham can help you all summer and all year. Wingate by Wyndham offers great year-round rates for corporate travelers with the bonus of extra Wyndham Rewards points, and they upgrade regular business guests for no charge whenever possible. Give Kim or Alicia a call at 406-541-8000. That's 541-8000 today to learn more. Let the Wingate by Wyndham in Missoula make you feel at home even when you're not. Before we get into this Osprey stuff,
yes.
Don Verlin fired, University of Idaho.
Official. He'd been on paid administrative leave. Now he's out.
The whole castle keeps burning, but the guy standing in the center still has a job.
Paul Petrino.
I'm not sure how, but everybody else has gotten fired. We'll see what happens next.
University of Idaho. I feel like we need to...
I shouldn't laugh. It's actually horrible because even though Idaho is a fierce rival of both Montana schools and, you know, they're definitely a team that people in the Big Sky that aren't Idaho fans love to hate, they are a flagship member and they need to be good for the league to be as good as it can be.
They are right now the biggest disaster as an athletic department in the country.
I mean,
in the country.
How could you say that they're not? Yeah. I mean, it's outrageous.
Here's what's not a disaster.
Baseball.
Pioneer League Baseball starting today. We got all the Missoula Osprey games for you all year on 102.9 ESPN Radio. They are up there in Great Falls. If you're watching us in the area, good for you. You got to go to the game here. 7 o'clock first pitch. 6:45 will go to air. Media day yesterday with the Missoula Osprey. Brand new manager for the O's coming into this season. Juan Francia, who has been managing in the Dominican Republic the last 3 years, but he's also managed in the United States and in various seasons in the Arizona leagues and so forth. This will be his first shot in the Pioneer League, and so he's up here in Great Falls tonight, but with the Missoula Osprey, and we had a chance to talk to him about managing and doing this thing where a bunch of guys show up all of a sudden. Now you got to go play baseball. Good luck to you. Not exactly spring training at the Pioneer League Baseball. So here you go. A couple of words from Osprey's new manager, Juan Francia.
You get 40 ball players that pour in the day before you're going to play your first ball game. How do you get organized and even get on track of trying to put, a group of guys together to start playing ball tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them, they were with me in Arizona. Some of them came late, But the good thing is those guys that came up, they're really mature and they get along pretty good so far. And I think we're going to be all right.
You've been in the Diamondback system for a couple of years now. So what do you think kind of defines it? What do you want to replicate that you've done other places and instill in these guys?
I mean, our culture is win games and develop players, at the same times. And me being a head coach on this team, I'm trying to teach them the right way to play this game. You know what I'm saying? The number one rule for me is they got to play hard in and out, hustle all the time, and be on time. That's the good things that they can do. It's something that they can control. Results, I mean, you can control that, but if you work hard, man, I mean, the good result is going to be there.
This is, especially at this level, a very veteran group, pretty old group of players. What's good about that, and then is there anything that's tougher about that?
No, always good, though. You know what I'm saying? Because they can tell you information. When they receive information and apply it in the game, it's more easy for them. We have some young players like Peguero. He's the first year here in Missoula. I mean, he's the one that he needs to get along with all those older players and get on the same page like them. But being with our old group is more easy for us. You know what I'm saying? It's easy work for us.
We were just talking how much fun this would be to be a part of. Coming in here, getting to Montana, 20 years old, playing baseball all summer. What's the most fun part about this for you?
I mean, this is great. You know what I'm saying? Because this is my first year managing here in the United States. Because I managed 3 years in a row down in DR. But I play baseball here. I know the culture in America. I know the way we play this game here. And this is awesome. This is a great experience for me. And being here in Montana is amazing.
Okay, so the culture of baseball in the States. The culture of baseball, of course, in the DR. Over under how many games are you getting thrown out of this year? How many games are you going after the ump and he's going to give you the hook?
I hope none. You know what I'm saying?
But we hope at least one.
Yeah,
one.
But I will protect my players, man. I will protect them. If I have to go out there and yell umpire, I will do it.
Juan, thanks so much.
Coach Francia, Juan Francia, the new manager of the Missoula Osprey. Interesting, Mike Benjamin is still on the staff with the Missoula Osprey. Coach Benjamin is a bench coach this year. He's been the manager of the Osprey the last couple of seasons. And just like the players, the coaches are trying to, get experience, progress through the ranks and all of that. But interesting that I'm not saying this hasn't happened, but since I've been back in Missoula, once a manager has been done being the head manager, they have been elsewhere rather than, back on the team, but not as the head manager. So interesting deal, role reversal there for him. We also got a chance to talk with Casey Judge, who is the hitting coach. And Coach Judge spent like 14 seasons in professional baseball with a bunch of different organizations in minor league baseball, and has been a private hitting coach for a while now. This is his first time as on a coaching staff for a professional team or within a professional organization as well. So a chance to talk with Casey Judge yesterday as well.
Well, Casey, welcome to Missoula. You've summited the mountain. Congratulations. You made it. You've been in baseball your whole life, played in the majors and all that, but now you assume a role in the dugout and playing, being a coach for a team. What do you think this is going to be like? Your first time as a coach in a professional baseball ranks?
It's been a transition so far, but it's been a good one. Honestly, our organization has been super open to me being a first-year coach, and in regards to progressing hitters and getting them better, I've had a long 3 years privately working with hitters. So now it's just going to be on a team scale, and there's been a transition, but honestly, it's been great, and I love it.
So much of being a hitting coach in the show, tweaking little things and getting guys mentally locked in. At this level, you're going to have a lot of raw talent, maybe some guys that quite honestly have no idea how to hit at a professional level. What excites you about that and being able to kind of teach these guys how to become a professional hitter?
Just the newness that I know all of these hitters are experiencing. I know they need help. They're super talented. They're some of the best in the world, but they're also 18, 19. Some are 18, 19 years old, 20 years old. And, the professional experience that I've had and just playing and kind of looking into the swing deeper, I know they can utilize that at a young age.
On one hand, of course, it's going to be, it's going to be the same thing as you're teaching guys to hit, but what is the difference between a one-on-one lesson in a private, situation compared to teaching hitters on a team how to hit? And is there, a coalition that happens when you're talking about a group of guys hitting in an order now?
Sure. So with the advance of all the advanced statistics and information that we have on teams, now more than ever, a hitting coach is super important to a team and building a game plan. So now we can look at what the pitchers throw, what we're facing, starting, their tendencies. So building a plan for the team while also still kind of sculpting individual mechanical movements and how they're going to hit individually is that's my job.
Every baseball park is different. What do you think of this one? Would you call this a hitter's park?
Yeah, I've definitely just elevation, obviously, and then, 287 down the right field line and 309 to left, but I like it because it's going to give our hitters an opportunity to really build an approach and not get too happy seeing the short portion right and the short portion left.
You got a job to do this year, but do you have larger aspirations in terms of progressing as a coach? I mean, this is a proving ground for you guys as well.
Yeah, I love being a minor league coach thus far, but I think the ultimate goal would be just the same as every other coach, to make it to the big leagues. I didn't get there as a player, and I want to get there as a coach. Yeah.
So there you go. The hitting coach for the Missoula Osprey, Casey Judge. Appreciate both he and Coach Francia talking with us. Again, game one of the Pioneer League season today across the state and other states as well. Idaho, obviously Utah as well. The Idaho Falls Chuckers are now the new team in the Pioneer League North because Helena went to Colorado Springs. And so it'll be Missoula, Great Falls, Billings, and Idaho Falls together in the kind of divisional rotation as far as that goes. And tonight, game one for the Missoula Osprey at the Great Falls Voyagers. You'll have it for you right here on ESPN Radio. Tom Wilms, the new voice of the Osprey this season, going to be with you here in under an hour with the pre-game show and the first game of the year up there in Great Falls. An exciting time of year. Being back in the park yesterday, Coulter just walking through, I was like, oh, yeah, this is nice. They got the new screen up in there, bunch of construction. You can see the new kind of redesigned tarmac and how everything is in there. Looks great at Osprey Stadium, and can't wait to go and take in a couple of games this year.
Can't wait. Yeah, it's interesting how you get baseball fever when you're down there. I quite literally get sick. I start sneezing and can't handle it. But no, still the enthusiasm is great. I said to you yesterday, just how fun must this be? I mean,
right.
There isn't really anything better than, if you're getting put in rookie ball, there's a really good chance you're not even old enough to drink a beer, and that it's understood at all levels that you're a developmental player. So you just get to go somewhere and play short season minor league baseball,
drive around, see some of the country.
Can't think of anything better.
It's great. It is great.
It'll be so fun.
Well, boys and girls, have a wonderful weekend. A happy Father's Day to all of you fathers out there. We will be back with you on Monday. Until then, enjoy some Osprey baseball tonight and all weekend long. See you then.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new